Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to AriesEDC. We are checking out two cool offerings from Ketuo. This is the Griffin in G10 and the Mini Griffin in G10. Woohoo! All right, so we are checking out these two. This is really awesome because Ketuo did some really cool stuff with the Griffins series. I've been able to check out a mini Griffin before in the full titanium and everything else, but they just came out with these. These are the G10 version of the same blade at a very reasonable rate, which we're going to talk about. So they Ketuo made these, which are far more budget friendly, but you're getting all the same really cool stuff that you would on the premium version, just with some more budget materials. And same with the larger Griffin, which I have not been able to handle. So the larger one is interesting and new to me. So, but let's talk about the mini Griffin first. First of all, let's talk a little bit about it. You have this very futuristic modern take on a folder. Ketuo does some really fun stuff. We've seen some really mind-blowing things with the milling, and the things that they are able to do is pretty ridiculous. But this is a version with all G10. So you have the white G10 with a black G10 inlay. They have some that have the carbon fiber. I'll put the link in the description of these and Ketuo's website in the description of this video. Uh, Excellent job, again, milling out the back spacer and doing some really cool stuff. You have the clip. It's not a deep carry clip, but you're going to have a lot sticking out of your pocket, but it is reversible, so that's awesome. You have all means of deployment. So you have the regular flipper, front flipper, and the hole. So there's no way you're not going to be able to not be able to deploy the knife properly or in a way that suits you. Nice big lanyard hole for those of you who like a doodad on the back of your knife. And overall, it has this really unique angular design, which actually fits the hand very well. You have this great blade. I forgot what they're called. Let's see. I gotta remember what they are calling the actual blade shape. I call that kind of that's drop point to me with a nice little harpoon. So I don't see it on their website. So I don't know. But it is a small knife. This is the mini version. So it is fairly small. As you can see, I could barely get all my fingers on it. You can choke up to this flat position, which is fine, or you can actually go all the way up to that hole and get your finger in there, and it's comfortable as well. In doing so, my thumb ends up going right there on that little indention in the spine, which is exactly where my thumb needs to go. And it's a good sized little blade. So it is small, and it is also a button liner. So you see the liner sticking out, and if I press this button, you can see it moving. So you can see that liner moving. So it's a button liner lock, 14C PVD coated blade. And it's done very, very well. I like the little design techniques of just putting that little folder in, and swedging out that harpoon. Um, Again, just such a unique, angular, futuristic looking blade. And they did it very well with the budget version. And the best thing about it, $79. $79. So you are getting uh, 14C and G10 for $79, which is an absolute great deal. I'm trying to go see what the premium version is $195. So guys, you can't go too wrong with the budget friendly version. You're getting all the same kind of visual characteristics and design and everything else, but at some not such premium materials, at a really great price. And Ketuo just does such an awesome job with all of their uh, quality and buildmanship, craftsmanship with putting these together. They're really smooth, and that liner lock kind of, oh, it still has a little ting on it. I don't know if my microphone's gonna pick that up, but the detent is nice and snappy and gives me a little ting. There's a little ting. So how awesome is that? The Ketuo Mini Griffin. All right, so that brings us to the full size version of the Griffin. This thing is pretty cool. I have never handled the larger version, so I've only been able to check out the Mini Griffin. So this is very different in the size, but all the materials are basically the same, except this one sports some carbon fiber inlays, which is pretty cool. So you got 14C 28N, and you have the G10, but this one has the carbon fiber inlays. Again, the nice clip. It is nice and low profile clip, not deep carry, but again, reversible. You have the nice lanyard hole, and you have all that same kind of angular shapes and milling that Ketuo is known for. They have all those nice angular, and it fits well in the hand. Um, all the same deployment. So you have front flipper, which they've extended that one out a little bit different than the Mini, to give you guys a little bit extra geometry to really get that blade out. You have the regular flipper, and of course the opening holes work really well, plus a fuller there. So if you really need to get behind way back here to deploy the knife, you can. Done very well. But this one is a little bit different in a couple things. By the way, this one is under $100. I think it's $95. Hold on, let me go look again. Yeah, $96. $96 for this G10, 14C, and a larger version. And this is a chance to get it into a Ketuo out of budget. This is the PVD coated. This is like a tumbled PVD coated blade. Well, look at that. That looks cool. Really stretched out. If you're gonna look at that versus the Mini, they kind of took it and stretched it out a little bit, so there's not so much of a belly, but it's more of a stretched out belly. So it does give it a little bit different shape, but not in a bad way. That ting gets me. I don't know if my microphone's picking that little ting up. But let's look at the full size. So we have full 4 fingers. This thing is much larger, and the choke up position is good. Again, my thumb wants to be right in there. Even with my hand back here on the blade, my thumb can still get right in that little harpoon shape in the spine. They did add some jimping back here, which is nice, and it's done very well. But the big thing about this one that's fun is it has that button. It has the button liner, but it also has access to the liner. So it's like dual lock. I've never seen that before, where you can unlock the blade in dual methods. So you can do the button, and then you can do a liner. How cool is that? Um, nicely done. I mean, so whether you like the button or you're just that hardcore liner guy, it gives you the same feel as a liner lock, but you also have the means to do the button as well. How cool is that? I gotta do the front flipper. Oh yeah, see, I like that they stretched that out. Stretching that out a little bit gives you a little bit more to do the flip. I know you guys might struggle with front flipping like I do, and having that little extra geometry to get that blade swung out is very helpful. But yeah, I like the larger version. It's a little big for me, but I know for some of you with really large hands, this might be a better option. Let's look at some size comparisons with both of these. First of all, let's start with the Mini. Um, we are at 7 inches overall. So we're 7 inches overall, and right to the front of the scale, we're just under 3 inches. We're about just over 3.5, 3.6 with the blade length. So it's not a bad size. And then the full size, you can see, is much larger. So we're at 8.5, a little over 8.5 overall, and 3.5 blade, and that's a little bit over 3.5 to the front of the scale. And really, the sharpened length is a little bit more than 3 inches. So, very, very unique. Let's look at some size comparisons. Let's see if I can fit all this on here without making it go crazy. I'm going to do this dual one at a time. So we got that versus the Rat 2. The Rat 2 coming in very close to the Mini Griffin. So you could see that the Rat 2 overall size is very close to the Mini Griffin, but much smaller than the regular Griffin. And of course, the Elementum is going to be coming in. So these three are all about the same size, but the obviously the larger version of the Griffin is going to be a little bit larger than that. And then finally, let's look at that versus the Para 3. And that gives you a little bit of a look between the handle and on the Mini Griffins versus the Para 3. That gives you a nice full grip. And those, the Mini Griffin does as well. I like that little angular part right here because it really fits the hand really well once you get it in your hand. All of the little milling, and it's not rounded, but they did kind of do all of this little milling in here, which gives it a little bit of a comfortable grip. And they did it very well. And I really like how you have access to the liner, but it's also a button. Um, I kind of really like that. I wish more knife companies would do that, especially with that top liner. I mean, yeah, it's weird because it's like a bottom liner button actuated liner. So it's really, really interesting. They could have done that with this, but I know that that would have been, I know with the size probably made it a little bit more difficult to do. But I mean, that button works really well. And I really appreciate this one. I really like the Mini. I don't know. I almost wish the Mini was just a tad bit bigger. Uh, they need to do the Mini mid or the Griffin mid or something. Instead of Mini and the large, maybe do something in between because this is a little bit big for me and this one is just a tad bit small for me. So something right in between would have been absolutely perfect. So anyway, this is the Griffin, $95 and $78, I think. But whatever I said earlier is what the price of that is. Really cool to get yourself into a Ketuo knife at a really budget friendly price. I really like this Ketuo. You did an excellent job. So thank you guys so much. I hope you appreciate this one. Please remember, subscribe, like, leave a comment or not. That choice is always yours.